Hello everyone! Finally, here a full-length tutorial on my Minecraft mod. For convenience, this video is divided into chapters, so you can find exactly what you need. Here you will find the complete development of a simple mod with tameable and rideable entity, from modeling to the final launch of the mod. Enjoy watching and let's go! First, we need to create the model of our links, painted and animated. Blockbench is perfect for this. I also animate using Geckolib animation. This tool helps create unique, lifelike animations. When creating the model, choose Geckolib animated model. The model must face north, along the arrow. From the very beginning, you need to know exactly what size the model should be. For now, I'm using an already finished links as an example. If you're building a model from scratch, quick paper sketches help a lot. Also pay attention to the model's center pivot location. This is especially important if you're making a rideable entity. The player will sit on the model's central axis. Use a perpendicular side view to see its size precisely relative to a block. I start with torso elements, the head and the tail. In other words, everything that exists as a single copy. Create a new cube. With a cube, you can do three things: move, scale and rotate. Holding shift lets you position a part more precisely. These numbers will help make the details symmetrical. Duplicate elements such as paws and ears are best made with mirror settings. Another crucial thing is moving the pivot point. It's best to reposition it in such a way that the part doesn't slide away when you move it. The pivot is extremely important for animation. Move it so the element rotates realistically around it. Enable transparent display. Don't forget to name all elements, so you don't get lost later. Also create groups in the model menu. This is skeleton of our links. The easiest way to show this is with a leg as example. Each subsequent element should rotate following the previous one. This greatly simplifies animation. Therefore, we create a nested folder structure, where each next element is inside the next folder. I call it the Matryoshka pattern. Note that the folders should be named bone with number, otherwise the animation menu won't pick them up. This point needs some clarification. Anyway, in my case, this worked like this. Pay attention to where the group's own pivot point is. Here the order of actions so the pivot doesn't drift. Select the required element, create a new folder, move the element into that folder. I'm spelling this out because it took me a long time to figure out it myself. So, the model is ready for texturing. This part is simple. Create a new texture with settings like this. And start painting. To make the links more realistic, disable mirror painting. A touch of asymmetry makes the model feel more alive. Save the texture in the folder, duplicate it, give it a new name, and import it. In total, the links will have 5 textures: wild, tamed with a collar, with a barrel, with a saddle, and with both a barrel and a saddle. I made the barrel at the model end stage, but when it's not needed, it will be hidden by an empty texture. The trick is that it's there from the start. Add the remaining elements. Copy part of the texture. And that's it. The textures are ready. For these links I provided only one barrel. If you want to increase the number of changeable parts, be prepared for a huge number of textures. For example, my previous links had 2 different crates that could be equipped and removed, and that required 9 textures in total. Animation. Once the textures are ready, we can create animations. We'll start with the simplest one, idle. Even when standing still, the links should make small movements so it looks alive. The animation will be looped and last 4 seconds. Click through all the parts so they appear on the timeline, and set keyframes on the first frame. This locks in the starting pose. Now move to 2 seconds and start offsetting parts. I start with the torso. Let it go slightly down and up. Add rotations. This is where the folder hierarchy shines. It's enough to rotate the leg at a high level and then fine-tune the child elements. The links won't fall apart. Then, just go through all elements one by one. You can use principle of classical animation here. When everything moves, copy all the keys from the first frame and paste them at 4 seconds. Now we have a nice loop. To make it livelier, you can complicate the motion. Don't try to animate like Disney from get-go. Start simple. In time you'll feel what to improve. For instance, the torso motion may be too mechanical. Offset the markers on the timeline by 1 second. A quarter cycle, a half phase shift, I guess. The main idea is that not all motions start and end at the same time. Let the chest move first, then the rest follows. Add small motions to ears and tail. Offset a pose slightly, so the stance isn't perfectly symmetrical. Tilt the head a bit, but not too much, so it doesn't steal focus. Nudge parts along all 3 axes, just a little, so the links feel alive. And congratulations! Our first animation is done. It gets more complex and more interesting from here. Sitting animation. In my case, the links has 2 modes: following the player and sitting in place. Create a looped animation. On the first frame, pose the link sitting. We don't need a build explicit transition between standing and sitting. The game will blend them automatically. So, just like before, copy keys to make a clean loop and make small changes at the midpoint. Overall, it's the same approach as with the idle animation. Walking animation, a looped animation with total duration 1.5 seconds. On the first frame, simply rotate the legs forward and back. Copy those keys to create a basic cycle. Now for the interesting part. Select the quarter points and set in-betweens. Pick a leg that's moving backward and set its position so it doesn't sink into the ground. Do this for 2 legs. In the third quarter, the other 2 legs move backward. Set their positions. Now pick a leg that's moving forward and set case so it lifts off the ground and makes a step. At this point you can make the animation cleaner. At the 8th of the cycle, lift the paw higher to make the motion more expressive. The program shows the pose trajectory. You can immediately see what needs fixing. Add slight side-to-side motion. Now the link strides confidently, but the motion is still too mechanical because the legs move in lockstep. Offset the front legs cycle in time, select the needed case and shift them a bit. Now set case at the endpoint at 1.5 seconds and copy them to the very beginning. Delete keys that go beyond the animation length. The legs now move out of sync, like a real animal. Next, animate everything else. The leg movement dictates the torso's motion. Add a subtle sway and up-down read. Do the same for the hindquarters. Torso sections also move out of sync, like the legs, with the middle section bridging the 2 motions. Animate the details, ears, tail and the barrel. That's our result. Jump animation. This is short and non-loop. From the first frame, hold the links in the pre-jump stance. Important. The actual upward movement will be added in-game, so in our animation the link's root shouldn't move much. This is especially vital for rideable entities. The saddle must not move relative to the player. Correction: if you don't move the torso at all, the jumps look unconvincing, so I later reworked it. You can think of this as frame-by-frame posing. In the animation the pose goes down, but in the game the links will be in midair at the moment. Then set the landing pose. You can select case with shift and to tweak the animation so the jump looks nice. We can't fully avoid gameplay constraints, so we'll settle on this jump. The links will automatically return to the standing pose. Run animation. And now the big boss. I recommend using frame-by-frame running cycles as reference. Pick the first phase and set case to match the reference, then the next phase, and so on. I first set the main phases and copy the case to loop the animation. Then you can add in-betweens. Smooth things out and slight torso rotation and to top it off. Animate the tail, barrel and ears. You can adjust animation speed. It helps spot a pose slipping through the ground. Now our links can run. Swimming animation. This is straightforward and similar to building the walk cycle. Pose the legs in different positions and gradually add more keys. Finish with small details. Important: the link's torso and the saddle must stay at the same level. A quick note: if you lower the link's model in the swim animation, it looks realistically submerged. But if a player is riding it at that moment, the player will float above it, so I kept the simpler variant. Attack animation. Short, non-looped animation. Pure improvisation here. A threatening starting pose and a launch to finish. Let's assume that's how the links attacks. It's okay to sacrifice realism a bit for spectacle. So, we have 7 animations for our links. The links and its textures are fully ready, which means it's time for Mcreator and building the mod itself. Export the Geckolib model and animations. Exporting produces one file with the animations. Mcreator. I'm making the mod for 1.21 and I'm using Geckolib. Create a new workspace. Enter the mod's name and create it. Here's our workspace. Go to the Resources menu and import the link's textures. Also import the Geckolib model. Right away select the animation. Now create an animated entity. Enter the entity name. Looking ahead, to create one links, we'll actually need 2 entities, wild and tamed. Right now we're creating the wild links that must be tamed. Add the entities model. Since we already imported it into Mcreator, it will appear in the list. Add the wild links texture. You can also scale the entity model and adjust the hitbox size. If you created the entity from scratch, you may need the tweak its size after testing a game. Also pay attention to these windows. Here you can set the link's hitbox size, shadow size and the player's riding height, if it's rideable. Here you can set the spawn egg colors. You can also add the entity sounds. I won't add any. Next is the behavior page. Set it to creature so the links doesn't immediately attack the player. Leave entity type undefined. Then count the attributes. You can play with those. Links don't sink into powder or snow. To achieve that, we equip our entity with boots. They won't be visible and won't drop from the entity. It's not a water creature and it's immune to fall damage. We'll skip the next two pages. The wild lynx has no inventory and doesn't perform complex tasks, AI and goals. Choose animal, make it tameable, and select the items used to tame the lynx. Here you can add behavioral features. From my experience, I don't recommend piling on too many. The AI can get confused. Let's add the ability to swing, pounce when attacking, and most importantly, follow the player if they're holding cooked cod or salmon. Here we also select a block so that the lynx can climb onto powder snow. But I just conducted an experiment and it seems that this block has no effect at all. The lynx can walk on powder snow, but it doesn't really want to jump on it. Also, if you ride, the lynx won't sink, but you'll have to jump to get on it. In the summary, this is what the blocks for the wild lynx look like. Note that the higher the block, the higher its priority. The next page handles spawning. Toggle the flag to enable lynx spawning. Spawn weight determines how often it appears. Spawn type creature. We'll leave it for now and can change it later. Our lynx will appear in all snowy and icy biomes, in groups of 1 or 2. Now for the fun part, animation. Paste the animation names from Blockbench. Here choose head rotation. Be careful, if the head group's pivot is offset, you'll get this. Launch Minecraft from Mcreator. I happened to land in the right biome on the first try, and lynx spawn nicely. Spawn a lynx and watch the animations. Idle, walk, attack, and swim. All this works. The lynx also runs to us if we're holding the cooked fish. Let's create a small but important procedure. Basic jump. It fires when the entity jumps. Select this condition from the list. Now select this green Geckolib block. If the entity is a wild snow lynx, then the jump animation plays. Looking ahead, we will need another block like this for tamed lynx, which we will create right now. Now let's create a new entity, the tamed lynx. Same model, but a different texture with the color. The tamed lynx won't have a spawn egg. Otherwise, everything is the same. Its behavior is more complex. It should follow its owner, defend, and so on. We won't enable biome spawning for the tamed lynx. The animations are the same as the wild one, but we add a riding animation. Variables. Now we'll create variables for the tamed lynx. On the left, open variables. Create boolean variables with settings like this. Follow will allow the lynx to either follow the player or stay. Create boolean variables saddle and barrel with similar settings. But how the tamed lynx appear? For that, we'll create a tame shift procedure. It fires when some entity is tamed. Find the condition block. Searching by name is often the easiest way. This checks which entity was tamed. Choose our wild lynx. So, the procedure will run when someone tames the wild snow lynx. Add a block to spawn a new entity. That'll be our tamed lynx, the new entity we just created. Then insert the position and rotation of the wild lynx. Movement blocks. If the wild lynx was moving, the tamed one preserves those values. Next, despawn the wild lynx. We've just swapped the wild lynx entity for the tamed lynx entity, but the new entity needs to be tamed. These blocks find the nearest tamed lynx within a 20 block cube and tames it to the source entity, in other words, the player who tamed the wild lynx. Also, set the tamed lynx follow boolean to true, so it can immediately follow the player. Let's hop into Minecraft and test. We tried to tame a wild lynx, and it's tamed. We even get an advancement. You can already ride the tamed lynx, and it follows the player. You might notice animations issues here, but after exporting and running the mod in real Minecraft, the problem disappears. Now, the main question, why change the entity? Honestly, I don't remember why, but it helps distribute responsibilities and lighten the load on a single entity. In the very first version of the mod, I had 4 entities for 1 links, switching on different interactions with the player. The downside is that if you name the entity with a name tag, the name disappears when entity is replaced, because it's technically a different entity. What you see here is a compromise. If you name the wild links, its name will vanish after taming, but if you name the tamed links, the name will never disappear. The idea is the player tames first, then later finds the name tag. Now let's start building the interface GUI for interacting with the links. Here's what it looks like. You can set the panel size and choose an interface with slots, so the player can pass items to and from the links. Create state and bulk buttons. Size Shift plus left click opens the interface. It's simpler to control the links via GUI buttons. I tried resizing buttons, but Mcreator absolutely refused. It offers a short instructions on how to do it, but I still can't get it. The button just follows the mouse. If you've succeeded, please tell me in the comments. Before testing, don't forget to attach the GUI to the links. Open the inventory section, choose the interface and save. Another important detail is the links model in the GUI. We'll create a GUI model procedure. It fires when the player right-clicks any entity. The procedure fetches the nearest tamed links within 20 blocks. Save it. Now add an entity model to the GUI and assign the GUI model procedure. Don't forget to enable follow mouse cursor. You can also adjust the model size, but that's fine-tuning. We'll leave it for later. Next, we'll make a procedure that affects the link's behavior. StayWalk. No extra trigger. Check that the entity is a links. If so, check. If the follow variable is true, the procedure also returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. Why? Earlier we defined 3 boolean variables. Each tamed link has its own follow, saddle and barrel, but the AI system can't directly read those variables. It can only call a procedure, so we made a procedure that returns true false to influence behavior. Go to the tamed links entities AI and goals. The first 3 blocks handle following the owner and attacking enemies. Each has conditions. Use our StayWalk procedure for start and continue conditions. Do the same for the wander around goal. Now we'll make procedures to explicitly set follow or sit. The sit procedure has no extra trigger, with a boolean check. The entity block looks like this. If a GUI is open for the entity, set the links follow to false. The procedure finds the nearest tamed links and changes its boolean variable. The next block makes the links play the sitting animation. Just copy that block. There's a caveat. If another link happens to be closer to the player than the one you intended, the procedure could run on the wrong links. These bugs are possible, but this is the simplest approach I've found that doesn't require coding and is fairly reliable. The walk procedure makes the links stand, wander and follow the player. It's very similar to sit. The main difference is we set follow to true and the next block stops the previous sitting animation. Now go to the links GUI and bin the procedures to the corresponding buttons. Launch the test Minecraft and check. The GUI works. The links model is there. buttons work. The links can either follow us or sit in place. Let's finish the GUI visuals. We can nudge the model and scale it down a bit, and item slots. For convenience, I changed the grid settings. And tooltips to hint which items go there. Test the GUI in-game. Looks good. For now, any items can go into the slots. Another important thing, these two upper slots should only accept certain items. This can be configured directly in this window. Oh, and here comes one of the most complex procedures, texture switching. When we put a saddle or a barrel on the links, its texture must change. Place two boolean blocks like this. Set the trigger to onloaded entity tick update. Take a boolean equals and wire it like this. Then boolean end. Add the block if the GUI is open for entity. Choose the links GUI. Another red boolean block. Then the block getItem from slot of open GUI and the Minecraft components block with the item field. And the block getNearestEntity, because event target entity is the player, not the links. Don't forget to specify the correct entity here and here. Now arrange everything. If the GUI is open for the entity, the procedure checks the specified GUI slots. First it checks whether the links has both saddle and barrel. If yes, switch to the combined texture with both items. If not, it checks for at least a saddle. If yes, set the saddle only texture. If not, it checks for at least a barrel. If yes, set the barrel only texture. If none are present, the links uses a regular texture with a color. Very important! When specifying a texture name, replace spaces with underscores and make uppercase letters lowercase, otherwise the game will crash the moment the procedure tries to swap the texture. This texture switching approach has pros and cons. Pros: it's easy to understand and doesn't require programming skills. Cons: if you want more changeable equipment, you'll need more textures to cover all combinations. It's especially obvious in a similar procedure for a links I made a year ago, with a saddle and two crates, front and back. You can see how much more complex the procedure gets. Textures too. If the snow links needs 5 textures, the Tony links needed 9. As you add more attributes, the number of textures and the procedure's complexity grow geometrically. Next we need an inventory control procedure, no extra trigger. Place if-do-else blocks. This procedure checks the slots in sequence. If a saddle is present, the global variable and the custom boolean NBT are set to true, otherwise to false. Do the same for the barrel. Note: you can see that both a global and custom variable are changed. Unfortunately, I still haven't figured out exactly how they differ, so inventory control changed both, and it works this way. Also important, go to the GUI menu and scroll down. There are important options hidden there. Set while GUI is open tick to our inventory control. Now this procedure runs while the links inventory is open. Let's set another function with no extra trigger that allows the player to write the links only if it has a saddle. Play the boolean checks. If the entity is a temp links, then check whether the saddle variable is false. If so, the source entity stops writing. If a saddle is present, check whether follow is false. If it is, set this block so the link stops playing the earlier sitting animation. The next block sets follow to true. This procedure will be called as follows. Go to the entity settings, triggers. In the center there is right-click on entity and select our procedure. Perfect. Now the player can mount the links even if it's sitting, but only if the links has a saddle. The link stops the sit animation and starts to move. When the player dismounts, the links continues to follow. As you can see, we can write the links only if it has a saddle, otherwise the player just dismounts and can't write. Ideally, the player could ride without a saddle but without control, like vanilla horses donkeys, but that likely requires deeper coding, since movement control is defined when creating the tamed links entity. The simplest option is to forbid riding entirely if there's no saddle. Now we'll implement the next important function. These GUI slots should be accessible only if the links has a barrel. Create a BarrelCell procedure on loaded entity tick update. If the global barrel variable is true, the procedure returns false. If barrel isn't true, it returns true. This inverted logic is needed for the next step. In the GUI, click each remaining slot and assign BarrelCell under slot disabled when procedure returns true. That means a slot is locked if the procedure returns true, barrel absent, and unlocked if the barrel is present. Repeat for all slots. Now we can't put items into the slots if the links has no barrel. But if you remove the barrel, items remain in the slots. After removing it, you can't put items back, but the existing ones stay. Logically, if you remove the barrel from the links, the items should drop from its inventory. For that, create a BarrelDrop procedure. On loaded entity tick update and a condition block with boolean end. Check that the GUI is open for the entity. And for the nearest links, the barrel variable is false. Then use the block that spawns an item. Get item from slot of open GUI. Don't touch the coordinates yet. Keep pickup delay as is. Disable despawn. the next block clears the slot. Set the numbers according to your GUI. There will be 9 slots. Copy the blocks and fill the appropriate slot numbers. Each slot drops its item and clears itself if barrel is false. If we load the slots with items and then remove the barrel, everything ends up in our inventory. But what if our inventory is full? Remove the barrel and the items vanish. Back to the BarrelDrop. Those coordinates are the player's coordinates. Items spawn right under the player and, with no space, get deleted. To avoid this, change the coordinates to items spawn near the links. That's what it looks like now. Copy the blocks, reposition, change the numbers. That's the wall procedure. Test again. The items now spawn next to the links and doesn't disappear. We can pick them up. If you want an entity with 2 sets of chests, just make 2 variables, 1 per chest, and 2 pairs of procedure, chest cell and chest drop. Each chest controls its own group of slots, opening and locking independently. And finally, the links calling card, jumping. First, create an in-air procedure, onloaded entity tick update. Put these blocks. Check the entity is attempt links. If the links is on the ground, set boolean in air to false, else true. Next is jumper. Verify the entity is attempt links. If in air is false, the links is on the ground and can jump. Enter the animation name in the Geckolib block. Next block. Attempt to override motion for our links. Important. Add this block. We get the entity the player is riding, the links, and the procedure operates on that links. Insert a math block that multiplies the current motion by a factor. Use a getEntityIsRiding everywhere for x and z, for y it's enough to set a constant. Also important, x and z must be multiplied by the same value, otherwise you'll drift north or east. There's lots of room for tuning here, experiment with numbers to get the jump you like. We also need to bind a key for jumping. Create a key binding. Choose space. Category Gameplay. When pressed, run the jumper procedure. Test in game. The links can now jump. Note that when standing still it jumps straight up. When moving, the jumps gives extra speed. But in survival, jumps become very painful. To fix that, create a new procedure, fall safe. on player tick update. Condition: if the player is writing an entity and that entity is a tamed LYNX, set fall distance to 0 for the next tick. Don't forget to insert that complex block here. Testing game. Great, now the player can jump from any height without risking fall damage. And congratulations! That's essentially everything the mod consists of. What's left is the final tuning of LYNX size and characteristics. I set the size to match the existing LYNX, the riding height and speed, and adjusted the spawn settings. Now let's launch the mod in a full assembly with shaders. To do this, export the mod here. Save the file. And in the launcher, simply add it to the mods folder. Attention! Geckolib is required for this mod to work. You can download it for free and add it to the same folder with mods.
Thank you personally for watching. If you have any questions about the development, feel free to ask them in the comments. I will try to answer and explain what I know. Also visit my Discord, where I have shared screenshots of all procedures, so that you can view them in high quality. If you don't forget to like it, I'll be very happy. Seriously though, your likes and other activity will help a lot. Here's the finished mod, available for free on CurseForge. I managed to run the mod on the following versions. Home and download it. If you want to support me, welcome to Patreon and Boosty. All links, of course, in the description. Well, that's definitely it. Thanks for watching and bye bye.